Well, I'm so excited to be with all of you, and I want to pray before I get started and offer up what I'm going to share, and then we're going to get this party started because that's what we're going to do today. Anyway, let me pray. Lord Jesus, we just thank you so much. First and foremost, I want to thank you for the gifts and talents that you've bestowed upon each and every person in this room, Lord God. We thank you for the time together. We thank you, Lord Jesus, that you've called us in to be storytellers, Lord God. So I pray today, Lord, that you would go before me and that you would share exactly what you want to share. And we just thank you, Jesus. We thank you for all that you're doing. We thank you for what you're doing in cinema. We thank you that you are a God of the creative and that you've called us in, Lord. And so let us just be mindful of where you're calling us, when and how and where, Lord Jesus. We love you so very much. In your precious name, amen. Well, first of all, I'm really excited to have y'all with me, and I'm gonna call on a few of you. I want to tell you a little bit though, just backstory quickly. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you I'm not an acting teacher. Okay, I am not an acting coach. I have been so incredibly blessed to be part of entertainment for 2 decades. There will be no mathematics done here whatsoever to tell how old I am. But I've been really blessed to be a part of the entertainment industry for 2 decades. I've been a director, a producer, a writer, an actor, and I've done, and so why I tell you that in advance is because I've stood on both sides of the camera. I did study in Los Angeles for quite some time. I was there for almost 12 years. I studied with the incredible John Kirby. And I will forever, ever be in his debt. Not only did he always encourage me to make sure that I kept my eyes on Christ, but he also taught me what I know today that's taken me across the scope of not only acting, but directing, producing, and writing. And that's what I want to share a little bit about today with you all. So I know we're going to talk about acting, and I think it's extremely important, but I'm going to talk to you about some of the other aspects about it as well. Because when God calls us in, he also calls us to be excellent at our craft, right? And so that is the importance. In fact, it says in Psalm 78:72, David did the work with integrity and the skills of his hands. So we have to think about that as we go into this industry as well, integrity and the skill of our hands. So there's called as creatives, for we are workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand so that we would walk in them, called as creatives, finding the character within through preparation, presence, and performance with integrity. Why do these things matter is where we're going to go. I'm going to ask you a few questions, though, that I want you to sit and I want you to think about before we enter in to the rest of this conversation. And I think these are really important questions to ask ourselves. One, the calling question. This is what I'm going to call it, the calling question. What if the reason God placed you in entertainment industry wasn't for your success, but for your obedience? Think about that. What if the reason God placed you in the entertainment industry wasn't for your success, but for your obedience? When we see the call, I heard a great pastor talking about this, when we hear the call from God, until we step into obedience, it's the enemy's territory. So even if we think that we've got our eyes on something that what we might define as success, let's think about, no, God called, but he called you to obedience first. You have no idea why God called you. You see, I thought that God called me into entertainment to be this huge movie star. But truly, as I started to continue my journey in the industry, what I realized very quickly was that God actually called me to his women. You see, I'm called to his women. The mission field he gave me was entertainment and media. You see, you can take all of this away from me. I may never do another movie or never television series. I may never do another audio drama or whatever it is that God has allowed me to do. But what he has put me in charge of, my mission, my call, is his women. And so how do I steward that well with the mission field that he's given me? So I'd ask that question once again to you. Identity. The question, identity. Are you pursuing a platform or are you answering the call? I think that's an important question. Are you pursuing a platform or are you answering the call? The kingdom question: if God removed the applause, the roles, and the recognition tomorrow, would you still say yes to being called as a creative? That's a good question. The influence question: if every story you tell shapes someone's heart, then what responsibility comes with being a Christian in this industry? That is a big question. Man, let me say that again. If every story you tell shapes someone's heart, then what responsibility comes with being a Christian in this industry? You see, you're a Christ follower first. Everything after that then takes you into your call. You see, I'm a Christian. I'm a daughter of the Most High first. I'm then a wife. I'm then a mother. And then I get to experience where God has called me into my career. I think that is something we all have to think about as we navigate this. The bold commission question is this: what if the film set, the stage, and the writer's room are not just a workplace, but mission fields that God trusted you to enter? How would you steward them well? And this one is probably my favorite, the legacy question. 20 years from now, will the stories you told move culture towards Jesus or simply entertain? That is a big question on every one of it that we should all be answering. You see, we don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know what God has in store for us. But if we can think about that, when we tell a story, what we say yes to, is it moving everyone towards Jesus, or is it actually moving them away from Jesus? Because being a Christian in entertainment isn't just about serving the industry, it's about being called to shape it. You see, when God calls us in, he gives us, I don't know about you all, but in my mind, the one thing that the Lord tells us in his word is that we are called as disciples. He didn't call Shari Rigby to go in, or in the disciples, to go out and make another movie or to get another acting role or to write another, whatever it might be. He called me into disciple. So if I look at the perspective of being a Christ follower first, and he's called me to disciple, everything I do is birthed out of that. So if I'm telling stories as an actor, a director, a producer, a writer, or wherever God has allowed me, because I look at that as he has allowed me to put my fingerprints on things. What are the stories that I'm telling? How will it shape his culture? And how will I continue, at least I hope, that the stories I tell will navigate generations and inspire them as they come? Big, big questions, right? I have to tell you, I wish I was more technically more technically savvy. We set this up on my computer. I want to say, let me see if I can figure out how to get this to move. Because if not, I'm just going to keep moving myself. There we go. Look at there. Hey, hallelujah. So some of the movies that I've had an honor to, just like an honor to be a part of. You see, what I'm showing you though right now is this, and I'm going to talk about it pretty quickly, is that every one of these movies that I've gotten to be a part of as an actress, these movies I thought that I was going in just as an actress, but what really it was that God was calling me to a ministry. He was calling me to a mission. He was calling me to something bigger in the process. And so when I think about October Baby, I remember, if anybody's heard my story, I have 5 minutes on a movie screen. I actually was really angry with God, to be quite honest, because I only had 5 minutes and I had been training for something for a very long time. But you see, what I didn't know is that God was preparing me for what was to come. I filmed a movie in 2010. By 2012, God has allowed me into ministry to actually take this movie. I'm going around the world and I'm sharing my testimony. You see, but I had to say yes to the 5 minutes. You see, no movie role, no television role, no nothing is too small. Because if you're willing to say yes, God's got a plan for you. And if you believe what God has in store for you, then I would say get ready for the ride. Because you have no idea what 5 minutes, 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, no lines will actually do. Because when God has a plan, He is going to make sure that it goes out according to His will. I would have never thought in my wildest imagination that 2 years later I would be traveling the world and speaking for 2 years to share my testimony. Wow. Then I go to Overcomer. I'm a woman who overcame a lot. I was a teenage mother. I went through multiple things. But yet He gives me another story to tell. And you know, the best thing about that particular movie is when I had to do the audition for it, the only person there to actually work opposite of me was my husband. And I don't ask my husband to ever audition with me because it's just not a good experience. Maybe he's not in the room, so it's good. But it's just not the same. But you see, what was in that moment was the audition scene was between, the scene you get to see in the movie was between me and Alex, where I'm actually talking to my husband and I have to make a decision. Am I speaking life over my husband and my marriage, or am I speaking death? And you see, the best thing that God could have done is put my husband in front of me to remind me of that. You see, God has a plan. So many things to share with you. I'm going to get this one out of the way because nobody ever wants to talk about business. The next part of the process is, I will tell you this. As we go into this career, we have to think about the business side. I've been teaching recently, over probably the last year, the business side of what we do. And so as God has taken me through the journey of going in to be an actress, and then all of a sudden here I find myself in a place where I'm going in for these movies, what God is reminding me of is, if I'm doing something and I'm doing it with excellence, how am I doing it? And we are called to excellence. I'm going to continue to use that word with you. So I want you to think about the position that you're in right now. I want you to think about where God has called you as an actor. I have actresses and different ones that call me all the time, and they'll say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to go to Los Angeles. I really think that God is calling me into LA. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about that. What do you have in your savings account? Nothing. But God is calling me. Okay, how are you going to live? Because Los Angeles is really expensive. How are you going to take your classes? How many jobs are you going to have to actually live, to provide a living for yourself, to pay for what you think you need to do? Very big part of this question, and let me take a step back a little bit. When you go in to train as an actor or an actress in the industry, you are the business. You are what you have to be thinking about in the moment. So if God has called you in, you have to start thinking just like a business owner. You are an entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur. You need to be thinking not only with your B side, but you got to be thinking with your A side. Do you have a bank account that's separate for your business transactions? Are you thinking about taxes? Are you thinking about once you get those things set up, because now all of a sudden you have to have a demo reel and you have to have headshots and you have to have acting classes. I was in LA for 12 years. I studied acting almost the entire time. Why? Because it kept me on my game. It kept me in a process. When you are not actively working at your craft, all of a sudden when you have to go in and memorize something extremely quickly, all of a sudden you go, I don't know that I can memorize that quick. But let me tell you what, somebody else who's going in and they're working that work and working that muscle every single day or a few times each week, they're going to look at something like this and all of a sudden they've got it and they get called in or they have to do it and all of a sudden it's done. So what do we need to think about? We need to think about you are your own business. The slide has been up here. I hope that you can see all of this. You need to think about what kind of structure are you? Where are your finances at? How are you working through these things? You have to think about your taxes. If you do end up getting a job and you get hired to something, then somebody's gonna, you start to think about these things. You have to go through a process of putting all of your information into Actors, into the payroll systems that they have set up for you. These are things that you need to be thinking about and really working through. Your number one, though, depending on where you're at, whether you're just starting out, you've been in the industry for some time, or you're at the end, you need to be thinking about what you're putting away to advance your career. You have to do that. If your agent says, I need new headshots in the next 30 days, you have to come up with the money to go get your new headshots. And they need to be professional. They need to be the ones that when you get a little tiny headshot on your, I'll tell you, for Divine Influencer, we had like 5,000 submissions for one role. If I don't see your headshot this big and something that stands out and it looks really great to me that comes and pops off the page, guess what? I probably won't see you. And it's not because you're not talented. I just might not see you. So you have to think about all these pieces. Your demo reel. Are you actually investing in putting your demo reel together? You've got to think about that. You've got to go in and get those clips ready. You need to be able, and I'm telling you right now, Actors Access, if you don't have a demo reel or your short clips in place, your audition goes to the bottom. It just does. When we audition people, I'm a firm believer in auditioning, and here's why. It doesn't mean that you're not talented at your craft, but there are roles for people that God has called in to tell a story. And there are other roles that He has not called you to. I used to think for years, I can do anything. I can play any character you give me. Why? Because I have been studying. Well, let me tell you something. That is not true. You can think it all you want to. And I do believe there is extremely talented people that we get to watch all over in our cinemas. But if you really think about some of the characters they play, all of a sudden you can start to really think about how many times they're actually bringing up the same, maybe some of the same elements in their performance. They're leaning into something because it's something that is within them, innately built in them. I want you to think about those things. So listen, if there's something that doesn't come up for you, it's okay because it wasn't yours to begin with. When your friend or somebody else gets it, cheer them on. Here's the other piece. So put your bank account together. Be prepared. You are a businessman or a businesswoman. When I know that about somebody, I get really excited to work with them because I know that they're using both sides of their brain. They're going to step in, they're going to be prepared at a completely different level than somebody else that's just coming in. I want to go through this really quick because I got things for us to do. Training and development. I threw this up here. This is a quick one. Acting classes, voice dialect coaching, movement, stunt training, coaching, career, consultation, conferences, study acting, work on film sets. I'm going to jump from not this side, but I'm going to look at this side. Study acting. This gives you the foundation of everything you do. It was the one thing, and I tell directors, I tell producers, I tell writers, go take acting classes. Why? Because what it does is it sets you up for a whole different level of success. It allows you not only to think about the audition concept, but it really teaches you how to break down scripts. You need scene study. You need people who are teaching you at a 100-page script to look about how you're going to break down this script. A script is broken into arc, it's broken into beats, every character has to turn, every scene has to turn. You learn that in acting. That is something that if you ever think about directing or producing or writing, especially writers and directors, these are huge pieces to what we have to go into thinking about. As a director, I put my director hat on and I realize that if I'm evaluating a movie or a television show or whatever it is, I have to be able to see the arcs in every one of my characters. I have to be able to see story beats. Do you know what a story beat is? Right here, red and white. Do you know what a story beat is? Does anybody know what a story beat is? Tiffany. Right. Jared, do you have the microphone? A script beat, like an emotional, yeah, we call them beats. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Well, any beat for a scene is like different emotional changes, but I would always say something is changing. That's like moving the story forward.
Absolutely. So a story beat, so when we see that in our scripts as actors and actresses, all of a sudden we know that there is a beat changing in it. My scene started one way, I go through my scene, at the other it should start to change. We never start one way and then stay the same. We start here, we go through the process. If I'm an emotional hot mess up here and I'm going to work through my scene, by the time that I get to it, it should have a different emotion attached to it. Doesn't mean that it's completely gone, but I should be moving into my next space because that's the beat system. And so when you learn how to break down a script, all of a sudden you can go through a 100-page script and you can watch significantly how your character is going to shift in the beat change. It's a really critical part to the process of what you're studying. You should be studying plays. You should be reading the greats of the greats. You should be watching as much content that you can consume. Because what you're doing is you're watching performance, you're watching setup, you're watching blocking. You're asking those questions. Did the character change here? Did the character change there? What's happening with my character here? Sharon, what is something that you do that takes your character as you get a script and you're reading about it, and you start to go from the beginning of the script to the end? What is one thing in preparation that you do as you start to break down that script as an actress?
I like to ask who, what, when, where, why.
Very good. Do you break your script down in story beats, in your emotional turn?
I do. I don't know if I do it in a conventional way, but it's while I'm reading. If I ask a why, and it's something pivotal, I'm like, definitely we got to work through that.
Right. That's good. Shannon? When you tackle a character and you're reading about the character, Do you give your character a backstory prior or after, once you've read all of the material, and how do you build your character's backstory off the material that you've just read?
So I definitely read the material first, just read it, and then I actually read it again so I can familiarize. And I actually take notes of every single character. It's because I want to be so deep in the story, and then I actually go back again for the third time or the fourth, whatever it takes, and then I start focusing on my character. And yes, as I am reading it, I am starting to develop a backstory of who she is as I'm reading it 1, 2, and 3 times.
It's great. Love it. These are really important to think about through the process. Thank you, ladies. I'm gonna keep asking more questions, so get ready. You never know. One of the things here I also say is dialogue pacing. You're gonna acting technique. When you're in classes, you get to work on a character objectives, emotional beats and transitions, dialogue pacing, listening and reacting, vulnerability and performance, and living in the place and space that you're in is blocking. So as talent, one of the most beautiful things that we can do is work within an acting experience, and we can learn these techniques. Even our directors, that's why I always talk about this. If you're going to direct, go take an acting class, because all of these things are critical to what you're about to do. And one of the main things is living in the space and blocking. How many of you know what blocking is? Okay, how many of you don't know what blocking is? Perfect. I love that. Blocking is when we set, so if we're in a space right now, and all of a sudden let's say we were in a kitchen, okay, and there's a fight scene going on, or something that's happening, an emotional scene between a mother and a daughter. And you're in the kitchen, and you are, whether you're the actor or the director, and you're basically, the setup of it is, with the actor, they're going to be going through this process with the director. So the director is going to come in and say, okay, we're in the kitchen. Mother, you're going to start your space. Your number 1 is going to be right over here by the kitchen sink. Number 2, the daughter, she's going to come in and she's going to come walking through the door. That's her number 1. She's going to walk through the door, and she's going to land in her number 2, and mom is going to stay in number 1, and then she's going to turn around, and now all of a sudden we have a blocking situation, okay? And we're allowing this to unfold, because what happens also in blocking is you're setting up the emotional situation. It also, you need, as an actor or director, you're thinking about that where you're at. And what are those emotions actually look like? If mom and daughter are getting ready to have some words, what do you think that's going to look like? So not only as a director, but as an actress, I'm starting to kind of build that world out, right? I'm kind of going, man, as a mom, I might be kind of going up at her. Or as the daughter might be taking a couple steps back, even though she came in to confront. So we have to work within those spaces. That's blocking. And that happens in every single scene that we do. And it not only sets up the area and the space for talent, but it also sets in motion a lot of other things, whether it's lighting. Everybody kind of gets to see how we block out a scene. So when electric and grip comes in, the directors, everybody sees this environment that has been set up and it's getting ready to go. And then we walk through the process. And so it's very key. So when you're taking an acting class, you get to experience what blocking actually looks like. You get to feel it. You get to understand how many people are coming in to watch what you're getting ready to do. And so you get to live in a space, and all of a sudden you get to explore a world. So now as we go in, I'm going to talk a little bit about technique. Does everybody get that what I just shared with y'all? Okay, I want to make this interactive because I want you to be in a place where you can ask questions too. These are a few of the different kind of elements that we would look at. I would say these two over here are more of your scene study. We have improv down here, and then we have up here an on camera. These are all very important pieces to take, and there's a lot more coming our way. Audio, voiceover, dialect training. There's a lot of places and spaces that you should be in. But I would say in my world, and so many of on the day-to-day, we've got scene study that's critical to the ongoing of every story that you tell. We've got an improv class, because if I said to you right now, I'd love for you to come up on stage, and what you're going to do is, and I'm going to do this in a few minutes, so get ready. I want you to think about how you would say a certain word, or I'm going to start you off with a certain line, and then you have to be able to dive in and be able to react. If you're on set and all of a sudden the director looks at you and goes, yeah, we got it in the can, but I'd really love to see what you do with that character. Maybe we got a little time, let's film one more, and why don't you go and just kind of take it away? It probably won't happen. Could. Are you ready? Those are fun moments to experience and to be ready for something like that, to be on your game, thinking fast, being able to react to something, enjoying the process. Improv kind of lets you loosen up and just kind of experience and have a good time with it. It's a great thing. And I'm telling you right now, audition technique, you gotta be able to do it. Get in a class where you can understand the framing and what you're auditioning for and how you're setting up your characters, because most of the auditions that are taking place right now are they are over Zoom, or they are recorded. I want to tell you one thing before we get in this, is that I'm going to just remind each and every one of you. How many of you put auditions up and you record them and send them into directors or whoever, your agents? Okay. I want to remind you of something. Number one, actually a few things. Don't phone it in. There's too many people right now in those situations that so often have their script attached over here and they're reading it. Don't do that. Most of the time we can actually see your eyes doing this. I don't feel the emotion either. Get off book. Be so excited about that audition and the character that you're getting ready to create. Take the time. It's part of your job to bring it every single time. What are you wearing? What's the character you're building? This is where you get to exercise your craft. Whether you get the job or not, it's a skill set that you have to learn and be part of it. Enjoy the process. Think about it though. Be off book. Get into those things. Man, and don't be conservative in it anymore in it. If you have somebody who's reading across from you and it calls for you to grab the paper, reach out and grab it and step back. Doesn't bother me. In fact, I go, I can see it right now because that's what that person just did. Or all of a sudden you got something and you're like, they got to move off the camera like this. Or maybe they're running and they come back in and they're getting closer and they're coming back. Or maybe whoever the reader is, they kind of step into frame for a second and you see that moment. Go for it. We are looking for things that are different. Do you know how many auditions that I have to watch or listen to? I will say visually, if you can catch my attention in 10 seconds and you haven't spoken a word, you got me. I will watch everything that you just submitted. You're going to stand back. You're going to take in your character. How many people do you actually see always look you in the eye? You don't. They might be like this. They might be preparing. They might come back up again, depending upon the scene, the emotion that's happening. How How do you connect? How do you do something different? That's what I want. If I'm casting something, I want to know that you're going to bring something so unique and so different that I'm getting ready to go on a journey with you. And I can't wait to hire you. Because what I know is what you just showed me is what you're going to bring. Last thing about the audition process. We've all gotten into the habit. I'm way guilty of it myself. If I don't think my take is good enough, I will run that thing into the ground until I get there. Is that a good thing to do? No. Venus, what do you think? It gets stale after a while. Also, let me tell you this. If I just watched you as a director and I'm bringing you in and it took you 25 takes to get to what you just did, guess what? You probably are not going to hit your mark the day that I bring you in. Uh-oh. That's a problem. If I get 15 days to shoot a movie, guess how quickly we're moving? Speed. That's why I tell you all too, get off book. Allow those characters to get deep into your soul. Bring something that you never even thought about. Think about those things, because as we're going to the casting field, and we're thinking about that process, man, I want to see something different. I want to know that you're solid. I want to know that you're prepared and that you've got the integrity, that you've worked through the process. So when I bring you onto set and I've got to shoot in a matter of time and get that shot, I know that you are going to nail it in at least 2 takes. And that's rough, I know, for all of us. How many of you get past 2 or 3 takes anymore? Anybody on set? What's been the shortest in here that anybody, 1 take, 2 takes? I mean, I know there's one-hit wonders, but how many takes do you usually get on set? 1 to 2. I don't know about you, but I'm a needy creative. And all of a sudden, I get 1 take, and are you sure that you just got what you needed? That's not the way I rehearsed it. Had some emotion. I think I could do it better. Guess what? They're already moved on because they're setting up for the next one. So get that in your mind before you put that up on camera. That's important to the process. These are some of the techniques. Man, I can talk a lot. I love it. Acting is not pretending. It is disciplined, strategic preparation. That's what we've been talking about. It is truth telling under imaginary circumstances. To truly find the character within, an actor must integrate craft, courage, and character. Man, that's good. We might be actors, but we're not called to act. We're called to live in a space, to bring something epic and truthful. I don't know about you, but there are people who I watch on the big screen, and I'm like, man, that was a moment. And it was literally living in that particular space and place. I would have thought that's exactly who that person was. They weren't acting. They were living. They were feeling. They were living in their surroundings. They were touching. They don't take empty water bottles and drink them. They don't take an empty coffee cup and drink it. They have the resources. They walk through it. They know what they're doing. They know the weight of it. That's what we're called to do. Live in a space, bring it to life. And as we begin to tell stories, we tell it in a truthful way. All of these people up here, Stanislavski, Hagen is my favorite, probably, I would say. It's really what, the what, why, when, where, how. We have Meisner over here. And I'm happy to share this presentation just so you all know with anybody who would like it. Also, we have Stella Adler, and we have what we also consider the method acting. And so again, we look at the core principles, but I want to say to y'all very quickly as you kind of continue to look through these, I'm going to give you one more slide. We have Chubbuck, and we also have Larry Moss. All of these people, it is imperative. It is one of these, in my mind, as an actor, one of your educational things that you should be walking through is knowing the technique that is taught. Why is it important? These are the basic, not basic, these are the historical teaching methods. The one thing that I love about every one of these, though, is that all of them say identify, truth, live in your space. So they all have something that kind of comes back to that truthful space of living in it. Experience, walk through it, understand it. But here's a couple reasons why. One, we really start to understand the breakdown of what these look like. So whether or not you're acting and you're acting across from somebody, they might have a completely different experience than you do. Their technique might be completely different than yours. But what you do know is if you've studied it, you understand this is where they're coming from. Also, directors, writers, producers were also looking at that. When you start to talk and have conversations with one another, you start to understand the process of maybe where they're coming with their technique, why they do what they do, how they're doing it, so that you can understand and respect the craft in a very, very important way. I'm a learner who I really enjoy taking several of these greats and incorporating them into what I do throughout my process as an actress. As a director, it gives me, I can stand back and I can understand why an actor says to me, you know, I know that we're doing we're doing a blocking rehearsal right now, but I really need to have the water or the coffee in the cup. It's my process. And I go, oh. But I can hear them, and I can respect their process, and I can understand it. And I actually think that's brilliant, and it should be done that way. But at least I have the understanding, the knowledge, the wisdom to know what it is that they're using. Very, very important part. I want to go back to one thing that I jumped off of here really quick. Work on film sets. As actors, because as we're going through this process and talking about technique, when you're in class as an actor and you're learning these different techniques and you see, man, this one really works for me. That didn't. This, I can really grab onto and I can really work through this process. The next part of you as an actor, you need to get on set. Go be a PA. That's exactly where you're going to learn. Go be a stand-in. Go experience all of these places, because not only will you work in film, television, commercial, all of these different things, but you learn how sets are run. You learn continuity and blocking and coverage. You can understand when I say to you, can you go back to your one? Or, hey, can you take your two? Or, hey, the lens is here. There's things that all of a sudden you start to learn and understand the craft. And it teaches, and here's what I want you to hear. It teaches you how to respect every department, because every single department, especially as an actor, is critical to your work. They are the ones that are there working extremely hard to give you what you need in the moment. Electric, grip, your PA, your first AD, your makeup, your hair. There is respect that every single person should receive from you. Script supervisors. But when you go in and have a healthy understanding of what a script looks like or a set looks like, that's where you begin to excel as well. It is really important to the process. Okay, bam, vulnerability. Listen, vulnerability, humility, live. Listen, we build emotional houses that audience live in. We create a foundation, we create the framing and the lighting and the windows. You see, it's an important part of our process to understand how these things work for us. Technique without identity is dangerous. Identity without technique, it limits us. Listen, we've been talking a lot about identity here at the conference. You need to know first and foremost who you are in Christ as you step onto the set, as you're building your characters. How are your characters being built? But everything about what you're doing allows you to step into these characters and create and craft them. Listen, I cannot tell you more. Vulnerability and humility. When you work opposite of an actor or an actress, you do everything in your power to work in a way that you're there for them. Your performance, listen, it's not, I hate to even say this, it's not all about you. It's just not. What you do is you're respecting the other actor. And I'm going to give you another little piece of advice. Don't ever coach the person standing opposite of you. Don't ever do it. Vulnerability, humility. Guess who gets to coach that actor on set? The director. If somebody does that to you, be gracious and kind. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and do what you're supposed to do. That actor is not to coach you. When you're rehearsing together, that actor, you don't coach, they don't coach. You walk into a room, you are right there on the same playing field. And what we want to see is, I want you to succeed. The more you succeed, the more I succeed. The more we come together in this scene, the more we have an opportunity to have a great moment. If I'm supposed to be crying, let me tell you something. And they got my shot first. Guess what? My job as an actress is to bring it for you. I should give you everything that I just gave for that lens and that director so that you now have the opportunity to do Natasha, Venus, Shannon, Sharon. All of you should be able to do. I can't tell you how many times I've watched somebody get their take, and all of a sudden the director's like, okay, they can go. Release them. We're just going to put the camera on you and we'll put the stand-in in. Don't do it. I am going to say, be an actor or an actress that serves so far more the other talent than you could have ever imagined. Serve them and serve them well. And if they don't give you what you needed, doesn't matter. Serve them and serve them well. It's so important. Big, 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 big thing. Okay, now I'm getting off my soapbox. Okay. I come at this from so many perspectives because it's not just me as an actress, it's me as a director, producer, writer. I've now been in this for 2 decades, and so when I tell you these things, there's so much up here in my head. But what I realize in the acting space is that's where God started me, but he allowed me to go through a process to see where I am at today. And so those are the things that I would share with you because they're so often the things that can trip us up. Lada Silva, part of The Chosen, she was in Divine Influencer. You can see her in all these different character and places and spaces. And I love, love, love Lada. Man, do you realize that she auditioned, she went through 3 rounds of auditions to get Divine Influencer. 3 rounds. Even to the point that we knew probably right away on the first audition, she went through the first audition, callbacks, and chemistry. And every single time it got better and better and better. That's what we're to do. We get an audition, we are to be the best that we can possibly be. We get the call back. Guess what? Crank up the game. You get a chemistry read. Crank up the game even more. 3 people came into the chemistry read. Lada Silva, my sweet young lady who played Kim, Sarah Stipe, Kristen Grace Gonzalez. All auditioning for the same role through the same process, 1, 2, and 3. Guess what happened? Lada Silva was cast in the lead role. Sarah Stipe was cast in the second lead role. She was offered to be the best friend. Third, Kristen Grace Gonzalez, cast in the other role, the best friend, another friend that actually wasn't such a nice friend. That's what you always want to do. Crank up your game. Bring it. Bring it. You never know what God is going to give you, ever. All right, here we go. Essentials and business assessment for assets for acting and talent. Man, what are our resources? So now we've gone through, first and foremost, we're looking at ourselves from a business perspective. We're getting ourselves set up. We've got some financial, we've got some money in the bank. We know what it's going to cost us to have headshots and demo reels. We started going through the process of this is where we're going to need some ongoing education. You do not know enough. I do not know enough. I should be still studying. I've been put in some different roles now, but I love studying the craft of acting. So you need to think about the things that you need for your business. Headshots, demo reel, ongoing classes, education. I take intensives. Know those things. Now all of a sudden, then we talked about education. What is the important things that you need to start to understand as an actor or an actress in the industry? What were those? Scene study, improv, technique. We also needed to understand the different things that you should be going through and understanding on audition techniques. This is essentials, headshots, acting reel, demo reel, the money that you have to pay on an ongoing monthly basis. If you end up getting an agent and or before that, you are up here, you're working on Actors Access, casting. A lot of these things cost you a monthly nut, basically. So you've got to have that into your budget as well. Website and portfolio, these are important things as well, so that actors, if I go to somebody and somebody's been submitted on a short list from a casting director, most of the time, I will just tell you, most of the time I go, number 1, to your Instagram, so be careful what you post, okay? Because I'm really looking at who you are and what you do and why you do it and what kind of voice you're going to be for me as I tackle a project. Because remember, I said earlier, I look at projects as a ministry. I know God's got something way bigger for you. Number 2, I go to usually a website. I want to check out who you are again, what kind of work you've done. And I want to watch any kind of reels that you might have on that. Because if I'm really pursuing you and you really work for what I'm looking for, I want to know who you are, because I'm probably going to spend the next few months with you. And then when I take through the process of the movie, I'm probably going to spend about 2 years altogether in somehow, way, shape, or form with you. And then the next piece of it is I want to know, and I start looking at all of these different things that you're doing, but then I go to your IMDb. Your IMDb will tell me a lot about who you are and what you've been doing and the pictures that you're taking. So these are some really critical assets to have and to think about that through the process. Professional representation, talent agent, managers, entertainment attorney, all of these things. And once again, I'm going to share this if you so desire. I don't have a problem going through, but what you need to also do and be very aware of is you need to have your own setup in your home for auditions. You need to have good lighting. You need to have good space. You need to understand what color you bounce off of on the wall. I don't look so great on gray, so I'm going to put blue behind me because I want to pop off that screen. You need to have a voiceover now. When people ask you to do voiceover, you want to make sure that you're set up, because if you say you can do it, you want to be able to do it. So these are all pieces that you want to look at. This is quick actor's travel kit and the essentials actor, it's a checklist. When I see a professional coming to my set and they have what it takes as far as not only the ability, but they actually are prepped to be there, I look at them and I think professionalism. As you can see, they have a respect for the production and confidence in their craft. Why? Because they have already prepared. They have their rolling bag, they have things. I can tell you right now, I was a part of a huge, huge commercial early on in my career, and I did not know this, and I showed up to set. What I knew was that I had a makeup artist and a wardrobe stylist, and I was so excited. I didn't take a makeup bag with me or any of my makeup tool essentials, and I got there, and as we were preparing, I was told that the makeup artist had been in a bad car accident. And they wanted to know if I had my own makeup with me until they could figure out if there was somebody else to come on set or if I could do my own makeup. Wow. You've never seen a woman scrounge through a bag so quickly and use lipstick for every part of my face. Literally. So I'm going to tell you right now, make sure that you are prepared. And men, I love you all. They look at Spanx and go, I don't need Spanx. My dear friend, Anna Redmond, has put more men in Spanx than you probably want to know. It's a good thing. Might not feel so great for all of us, but it's important because I can tell you this, when you get up on that screen and you see something that you don't like in this area, it's really hard for them to fix it. So let's think about that. So everything that goes into your travel kit is an essential, and it's there for a reason. So show up prepared and ready to go. The tools of acting are imagination, truth, and connection, but when you're called as a creative, those tools become something greater. You see, you're an instrument used by God to influence through the art of storytelling. With that, I only got a couple minutes to go, and I got to put my glasses on. I am going to do a couple things with you all. And so what I would love is I am going to, who would like to volunteer for me to come up? Okay, right here. And I'm going to take you back there. Yep, you got your hand up. I'm like, wait, you. Okay, give me a minute. We'll see how far I can get in this. Come on up. You got to rush. All right, I'm going to have you two stand over here. All right. You ready? Hi. All right, I love this. Okay, so we're going to put this, we're going to have a moment here together, and we're going to live in our space. So I want you, this is your friend from grade school, okay? And you haven't seen him in 10 years. And he was a dear friend, but he just disappeared, okay? So I want you to think about that moment, and I want you to look at him, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a line read, but I want you to say, I didn't expect to see you here. And the first emotion is, you haven't seen him in 10 years, you don't know where he's gone. And he was a close friend. And all of a sudden, you two have seen each other. You, as actor one, you're going to start over here. You're at a coffee counter getting your coffee. Actor B, you're standing there with some of your buddies. Side profile coming in this way. Sorry, this is camera talk. So you're drinking your coffee. All of a sudden, she's at the turn. There you go. And when I say action, you are going to turn, and you're going to see him. And as she starts to turn and come towards you to end up in your two, you're going to turn and see her. Yeah? And you're going to have a moment. Okay, here we go. Go back to one. And this is called blocking. And this time, we're going to do it. And this is going to sound a little bit strange. But this time as we do it, I want you to do it in a neutral. I don't want you to even use any emotions. So I'm just going to just walk through it. So here we go. Ready? Up. Look at you. You're on it. I didn't expect to see you here. Okay? All right, here we go. When I say cut, we'll go back to our one and then come back, okay? Here we go. Ready? And action. Cut. Go back to one. I want you to think about what are the questions that we're going to ask. Sharon, what were those questions again that you asked?
When, where, why? Why?
Ask the question, who am I? Where am I? What do I want? There's questions that we start to ask ourselves in these process. I want you to take a beat. That means hold for a second as you turn to see him. And then I want you to go again. This time you're going to say your line. And this time, when you take that emotion in, when you see him, the emotion, all of a sudden you start to feel some anxiety, maybe some fear even, where did you go, right? Start to allow those emotions to come up inside of you and bubble as you start to approach him. And you can respond to her as well. Here we go. Ready and action. Cut. Go back to one. This time, he's the boyfriend who broke your heart. The boyfriend who broke her heart. Ooh, it's going to get good right away. Okay. What did we do? We're taking and we're elevating the stakes. Okay, here we go. Ready? And action. Cut. Go back to one really quick. We're going to do one more really quick thing. What's your name? Kayla. So good to meet you. Dante. Kayla and Dante. Great to meet you as well. Kayla, when you turn around, I want you just to think about it. If you saw the boyfriend who had just broke up with you and maybe he's sitting with another sweet young lady, what would that do to you in that moment? What would be some of the emotions that you would start to feel in that? Would you move as quickly towards him? Okay. Have you ever, I would say allow some of those things to come up in you as you're starting to think about it. What does that look like for you to bring those emotions up as you start to, because you're now in a space that's busy and there's a lot of things going on and all of a sudden you see him. And Dante, when you turn around and you see her, think about some of the things that you would feel as well. Yeah, where you're at. Yep. Eh, Yeah. Think about one of the big things you want to think about is what do you want from the scene? What do you want? What do you want? Okay? One more time, and then we'll have to call it a day. This is fun stuff. I wish I could do this with all of you all day long because I'm just getting started. All right, here we go. Ready? Turn back. And nope. You're on your one. Plant both feet underneath your hips, Kayla. Turn all the way around. That way. Focus that way. There you go. Here we go. Ready and action. Come on in a little bit. You start to move in towards him. Find your two. Now, Dante, you got to think about the young lady who's sitting across from you. Yeah, there was a young lady sitting across from you. Would you yeah? Would you apologize right now? Yeah? Okay. Awesome. And cut. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Did y'all feel a little bit more of the elevation of what was happening? All of a sudden, when we raise the stakes in a scene and we allow some pacing, some breath to happen, all of a sudden we can take, if we were watching Kayla and she turns around, we should be able to watch the emotions hit her before she ever goes to her second. We should be able to feel those moments as she gets in, and we're going with her because she's getting ready to tell us a story here, and we're trying to figure out as the audience what's going to happen in this moment. And he's sitting with another young lady. Great turn, Dante. Those are critical beats for all of us to think through this process, but that comes with training and understanding what we want, who we are, where we're going, the space that we're living in. Those are all elements that we get to, as actors and actresses, use to create our characters and tell stories like nobody else. You are only you, and you have been called as a creative into the space that God has called you to be in. It's a privilege and an honor to be called by God. Anyway, I could spend an entire day with all of you just doing this. I love it. I love all of you. And I just pray blessings upon you. And listen, my last thing I'm going to say to you is, in Ecclesiastics, it was so fun that Stephen was sharing this. There is a time for everything under the sun. You put the preparation in, you think about it, you work it, and you become the best that you can be at your craft. And God has a specific time when he's called you. Don't rush it. You don't want to go before him, because what he has in store for you is so far greater than anything you could have ever imagined. Everything, everyone has a time under the sun. Be blessed. I'm here for any kind of questions. I'll try to answer anything. I love it. I love all of you. I can't wait to share directing with y'all tomorrow. And anyway, I hope y'all were blessed by this. Have a great day.